topic is Basic Concept in Sociology, an Indian Perspective, and I will be talking on module number 8, that is gender. Anne Oakley defines gender as a matter of culture. It refers to the social classification of men and women into masculine and feminine. From her definition, we know that sex is biology or our physiology, whereas gender is something which is constructed by society. Social construction of gender refers to the idea that gender roles, gender attributes, gender behaviors considered appropriate for men and women are not biologically determined but are created and maintained by societal norms, expectations, and institutions. They are shaped by our cultural, social, and historical context. The construction of maleness and femaleness has structured and regulated individuals' behavior and relations into society, and it is deeply embedded. Some of the key points on social construction of gender are cultural variation, where different cultures will have their idea of gender and then they perceive gender in a very different way. For example, feminine male or masculine female might be something considered unacceptable in India, but the Native Americans they use the term two-spirited for men who are feminine or women who are masculine, and they see them as people who are gifted. So the other one is gender norms. Different society will have their different opinion on what gender norms are, what gender attributes are, what gender behaviors are. Socialization. Socialization is an important aspect in understanding gender because it is through socialization children learn how to act according to the assigned gender through process of learning, like through family or kinship or through schools. And then the other important key point on social construction is intersectionality, wherein one's identity as gender may intersect with other identities, like a woman identity with their class, caste, race, economic background, etc., and gender performance. Judith Butler says, gender is not something we are, it is something we do. So gender is something that we perform in our everyday life. Gender roles and gender stereotypes are very important in understanding gender. Gender roles are a set of behavior norms associated with maleness and femaleness, and they dictate our behavior, which is considered acceptable, appropriate, or desirable based on our sex. Gender stereotyping, on the other hand, is nothing but reinforcing the feminine and masculine qualities and attributes. One important topic we need to discuss when talking about gender is patriarchy. Patriarchy is defined as rule of male or father. Through patriarchy, men has power, privileges, and prestige. For example, in India, the eldest man is the head of the household. They have the decision-making power and they have control over resources by the very virtue of the fact that they are male members. In India, which is mostly patriarchal, kinship relation is traced through men. One identity is also traced through men. Inheritance, property, these are all passed through male line only, which is validated by religious laws and customary laws. So patriarchy further demarcates and insists on private sphere to belong to women and public sphere, that is polity or economy, to belong to men. So there is a strict private public dichotomy which confines women at home and restricts their mobility. These restriction affects women's participation in politics and decision making level also, and they have restrictions in acquiring resources, be it education or skill learning, etc. Another important concept we need to know in understanding gender is feminism. Feminism is a term used to describe political, cultural, or economic movement to bring about social change. The main focus of feminism is about legal protection and about equal rights, about equality, about ending sexual violence, liberty and freedom of both men and women, destroying gender hierarchy, and most importantly, bringing about justice for every human being. That is the reintegration of humanity. To understand feminism, we have to understand the three waves. Feminism is actually divided into three waves. The first wave is during the early 19th century to 20th century, which was also known as the suffrage movement. Here women started fighting for their right to vote, right to education, property rights, custody of children, etc. These were some of the main focus of the first wave. The second wave during 1960s and 70s was also known as the liberation movement, where issues like reproductive rights, domestic violence, workplace harassment, equal pay for equal work, politics, sexuality, etc. These were some of the key features of the second wave of feminism. The third wave, that is beginning in the 1990s, was marked by the concept of intersectionality, where women started knowing their background, their histories, their experiences, and then they said feminism is not just about white middle class women, because feminism only concentrated on these populations, but different women in different nations experience subjugation or inequality in a different manner. So the third wave used a more inclusive approach, addressing different challenges of women which is faced by different parts of the world. Concept of intersectionality, where women started knowing their background, their histories, their experiences, and then they said feminism is not just about white middle class women, because feminism only concentrated on these populations, but different women in different nations experience subjugation or inequality in a different manner. So the third wave used a more inclusive approach, addressing different challenges of women which is faced by different parts of the world. So talking about gender inequality in India, there are different issues and challenges. One is the inequalities in political power. We still know that till now in India, women are lagging behind in participation and representation as far as politics are concerned. Even with certain amendments act like 73rd Amendment Act, which gives reservation for women in the panchayats and municipal board, we see that women still lack decision making powers, and even when they are elected, there's a term used, sarpanch pati, wherein elected woman's husband would actually control the politics of the particular region, and then the wife would be just a titular head. And inequalities within household. So till now in Indian household, we see that resources are still not equally distributed. Men still have the power within the household. They make all the decision making power. They control the economy, and these are some of the challenges in many Indian women still face today. Differences in legal status and entitlement, like we already discussed before, that men still have the privileges over the right to property, to inherit ancestral home, etc., which puts women in a very weaker position, in a very fragile position. And then the next one is division of labor within the economy. Women, because of their lack of resources, their lack of skills, and inadequacy in getting education, are always more likely to work in jobs which are unpaid or which pay very low. So these are some of the challenges women face in economy. And of course the glass ceiling, where men have privileges over the fact that they are men, and then they are more likely to get promotions, etc. And then violence against women. Research by National Family Health Welfare shows that every 1 hour 2 or 3 women are sexually abused in India. In every 6 hours, a young married woman is beaten to death. This is the case of India right now. Women do face different forms of violence, be it at home, at workplace. So these are some issues that we need to still discuss. And discriminatory attitudes. In many parts of the world, women still face discrimination, but in India, problems like dowry, female infanticide are still very common, and these are something that we need to look into and then bring about change for the overall development of India. Thank you.